and then I can send it to you. Can you hear me?
Am I there?
Yep.
All right, cool. I don't know what I was trying to do. Oh, there you go. It is where you're going to record it.
Yep. And I can just send it to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I want the purpose of the recording really to be is to highlight exactly, you know what I mean, the fundamentals of your exercise routine. You know
Perfect.
what I mean?
Perfect.
Yeah, because I get it, but a lot of people, in my mind, I don't understand why they're not getting the connection between rhythm and body motion. I don't understand why there's a disconnect between a rhythm, hearing,
Hmm.
and motion and feeling. Can you explain that process?
Right. And when you talk about the simplicity of it, all we're talking about is ones and twos,
Right.
and every repetitive, continuous movement has a one and a two position.
Hmm.
And when we're listening to music, you always have your one and your two on the
Right.
beat. And
Right.
so it's as simple as just syncing your one and two position with the one and two on the music.
Right.
And um, when we talk a lot about tempo, as the tempo of the music goes up, you just start moving a little bit faster and you make your adjustments.
Right. Right. Right.
And by doing that, it's almost like the rhythm carries the movement. And even in dance, where you see people that maybe they're just kind of swaying side to side,
Right.
like at a dub show, for example,
Right. Right.
they're
Right. Right.
just stepping. But we can just turn that up a little bit. It's
And increase the step.
increase the step, but it's
Right.
still
Right.
just the one and two.
Right. Right.
And when
Right.
it originally started on the rowing machine, where you have your one position here
Okay.
and two position here,
Okay.
um, but you're still in sync, and gives you a stronger connection with the music
Right.
because you have to listen more consciously to it,
Right. Right. Right.
and it gives you. I like to say the more moving equals more feeling.
Mm.
So if you're just in a car and you're listening to your music and you're not moving, I mean, you could still feel it, but it's not nearly the same as if you're
Right. Right.
trying
Of
to catch your
course.
breath.
Of course, because now you're changing your whole breathing tempo, the pattern on which you're moving to the music. Some may sway, some may bob, and it depends.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: in your experience of this process, what have you learned to be a way to connect someone who has a hard time hearing the music and feeling the music simultaneously?
Yeah. So the key is to start them off with metronomes
Mm-hmm.
because the metronomes, it there's no other noise. All they need to do is focus on those clicks.
Right. And for
And
people that don't know, a metronome is used in music, and this is what they pattern the pace of the music by. So, if you don't know what a metronome is, you probably heard of it. It's just a little machine, and it goes boop boop boop. And if you want to increase it, it go boop 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 boop. It's almost similar to communicating with a dolphin through sonar.
yes, and what it also does is it gives us a closer relationship with time.
Mm-hmm.
And um, shout out to Tough Lion actually, because he starts off his guitar course with,
Right.
well, how does he start it? The metronome.
The metronome.
Yep,
So
that's
he's already with that being said, he's already given you not only a pattern but a rhythm that is going to become
part of
motion.
this.
Exactly, it's going to become motion.
Right. And so what he's training is to get that feel. But once you start getting the feel of the strum and the ear tuned
Right.
in, it becomes second nature.
Right.
And let's just take that here to an exercise movement.
To the rowing.
Let's take it to the row. All of a sudden, it's you're not using as much energy and you start to just kind of flow with it and it almost feels effortless.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, the day that we had our class together, honestly, I was already familiar with the process. I just never really had anyone like yourself really link the two together. But I feel I've been doing it naturally. But what I did realize doing it that day on the road, and you were increasing the metronome, I was still able to speak consistently without even changing the pattern of my breath. And I was speeding up throughout the whole process.
Exactly. And when you look at like endurance athletes, say a marathon runner, for example,
Okay.
how are they able to run for 26 miles? And yeah, and it's similar. It's just because they find their cadence, and
That one too.
that's it. It's boom, boom, and they'll do that for 3 or 4 hours here. And but it gets them in a type of zone or a type of headspace where they're not thinking about, oh, my muscles are tired, or oh, this is exhausting, or oh, I'm breathing so heavy. They're just locked in
Right.
on the sound of their breath and their
Right.
step.
Right. So
And
so they're pretty much already zoned out. Once they hear that, yeah, they find that and it becomes consistent, they're
mhm.
zoned.
Yeah, and it's like it can actually become very meditative because I used to do meditative rowing. Just that's all it was. And you get people in that zone and they're just, it's shocking because they're working every major muscle group, but yet they don't really get tired. And it's just
Right.
because they're in that flow.
Right. And
And
and not to cut you off, but in that same meditative rowing, do you also incorporate that into the metronome to where you're in a consistent rowing pattern?
yeah,
Or is it simultaneous?
um, with the rowing, I would still start it off um, with the metronomes just to kind of so they can find a nice like 40 beats per minute on the rowing machine is like perfect.
Right.
So it's a little bit more slowed down, but again, same thing with they get in that zone and um, it's just a different type of workout experience.
Explain the different type of workout experience.
Mhm.
Explain the cardiovascular aspect of the program.
Yeah, so um, when we talk about cardio, and one of the reasons why it's so important is because it's going to improve our circulation.
Okay.
All right. And when we're doing cardio for a longer period of time, we're getting more circulation, more blood, and through the body. And with the more blood through the body, the blood is carrying the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want that to be fully circulating. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's no stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
And cardio helps us do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then it also is going to help with our lung capacity. We want to be able to take deeper breaths, expand the lungs more than what they're used to. And now we're taking in more oxygen.
Right.
And that's going to be good for the brain and good for the body.
Right.
And then for the heart's going to start pumping more, pumping uh, again, which is
It
also needed. We don't want to just have the same breathing all the time, the same
exactly.
all the time, the same
Exactly.
movement on. We need this movement, and that low impact steady state cardio is a great way to do it.
And it's very excellent, especially when you have a program like you have. A lot of people don't, if they don't know, you have the rowing machine, you have the boxing where you stand up and box. You
Yeah.
do, I believe you do the jump rope.
Yep. Ski
You know,
erg. I
so
mean, and that's what else is great about it is you can apply almost anything to it.
Right, right,
You know,
right,
you could do push-ups, squats,
right, right,
sit-ups, like, but you're focusing your mind on it.
right.
It's always rhythmic.
Exactly, exactly.
And
So,
yeah.
so how do you find, or do you find the difference in music? Because I know that you're more of a reggae bass type, sound system type guy, right? But
Yeah.
do you find all music available to different types of customers who may like rock and roll, who may
Mhm.
like jazz? How do you incorporate that into your facility of work?
And it's interesting because the clients actually bring in their own music.
Okay.
And so a lot of times I'm exploring with them
Hmm.
because if you're listening to like hip hop or lo-fi, how it started off on the rower, you can really hear the distinct drums, like boom,
Right.
clap, boom, clap, easy.
Right.
But sometimes it takes a little bit more discriminative listening where it's not so easy, but we're always able to find it,
Right.
which
Right.
is fun because I'm learning also. Like if someone recently brought in like a salsa, like was into salsa music, and it was completely new to me. But it's that process of figuring it out. You know, it's exploring,
Right.
and I'm learning with them
Right.
to figure out, okay, how do we move to this now?
Right. Right. So it's a creative process, all in all, as if you're learning to play music. It's still a creative process because you have to find that rhythm and balance to be able to move rhythmically and at the same time to be able to breathe systematically. And then at the same time, learning how to clear your brain or your mind up from
Uh-huh.
being distracted of a bee landing or somebody walking by, and now your rhythm is thrown off because you're not focused.
Right. And do you remember actually we talked a little bit about this at your place, how we have the with our mental center and our emotional and our physical body.
Yes, 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 yes.
And when we do this, it requires all three.
Right, right,
We
right.
have to be paying attention, we have to be feeling that rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to be moving the body.
Have to be moving the body.
And it's very rare for us just normally in life on the day to day to have all those working simultaneously.
And it's very interesting because when you do look at people who exercise, most of us exercise with a particular purpose. One, if it's just for building the body, it's just for building the body. So we don't have the breath expectation of getting better, and the mind is still clouded and distorted with your everyday life. you
Yeah,
know but when you're coming in and you're giving people a measure of time with music, that's how I would like to say it, a measure of time with music, to where they're consciously involved in their exercise by listening.
that's
and,
it.
and yeah, and listening is a conscious thing where you know what I mean, you really have to work.
Yeah, and that's we can break it into active listening versus passive listening.
There you go.
Passive listening is when you're just kind of working out, it's in the background, you're still kind of daydreaming, but
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
your
If a
movement.
if a good song come on, that'll catch your
And you
attention. But if
right.
not, it's just there.
Right. But active listening is like it's real, it's testing your attention.
Right,
And you really have to focus.
right, right. Exactly,
But when you focus, that clears out all the noise from the day.
exactly.
So that's when the meditation comes in because we're really focusing on something. And people always say when they come in, like, man, this is heavy, mental work. And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, because we hear so much about, oh, mind, body.
right.
But is it really mind?
Exactly.
Is it really being worked, or is it just still kind of passive listening?
Yeah.
Active listening is real work for the mind to pay attention.
Yeah, in all aspects, and on top of that, to add an exercise, you know
Yeah,
what I mean. You're really doing some grueling work. This is not something that you're gonna come and say, "I'm going to exercise for an hour," and you can get in your car and go to Starbucks and you're good for the day. This is not that type of workout. This is the type of workout to where you start questioning your body. You start questioning your mental beliefs, as opposed, like, this is making me feel so good. Why am I doing X, Y, and Z? So I find when you do come into an exercise program that you're offering and you're able to give a person an opportunity to glance into their mind, so to speak, just to glance into their mind, because once you begin to focus and you begin to lock in, you start really realizing that some of the stuff that's in your mind doesn't make sense or doesn't even need to be there at all.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And yeah, and it's like sometimes it can be um you know how we go back to the metronomes. Like you know how some people just I call them internal metronomes. Some people are
Okay.
just click, 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 right? And
Right.
then some are more,
Right.
all right. And so when you take someone whose mind is normally running 300 beats per minute,
Right. 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 Right.
but then you put them on the rowing machine at 40 beats per minute, and it's let's say that's a more of a natural internal metronome for a human.
Right.
And there they are, and all of a sudden their body is moving at 40 beats per minute. They're listening to the clicks at 40 beats per minute, and they're feeling the rhythm at that 40 beats per minute. It
Right.
changes for even just if it just for the 30 minutes, their internal metronome is being tuned
Right.
to a frequency more natural to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what their frequency is. It's called a sound mind.
Sound mind.
That's
Love
the
the term.
frequency.
Yeah.
It's a sound mind. It doesn't have to be my sound or your sound, but it's a sound enough mind to where if your body, your mind, and the spirit of what you're doing is all in connection, is all moving, is all flowing. That's a sound mind.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're hosting all these elements into a straight focus, and you're moving them such.
Yep.
You know.
And I used to be very interested in the therapeutic side of this work.
Okay.
And I've worked with a sobriety group and people struggling with addictions.
Okay.
And that was my initial draw to it. Because like, oh, we can just tune these people whose internal metronomes are running at 300 BPM down to
Uh-huh.
40, and it's very relaxing for them,
Right. Right.
very therapeutic. But then later I got more into how do we apply this to performance now?
Right.
And so I don't know. I still kind of go back and forth on which is the better direction, but you can,
Well, I'm sure both has their advantages that's going to work for both aspects of it.
right.
I can see being in sobriety and you finding a way to help you meditate and exercise as being a good way to control the body and the mind and come as one. That's excellent.
Hmm.
And as well as performing, someone who's on stage who may not have the highest peak of energy begin through your program, learn a regimen to be able to peak that out. Now their energy is through a whole show rather than the first three or four songs.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying being fully hyped and piped. I'm just saying being able to have a breath of stamina that can go from first song to 16th song, as opposed to where your band is playing more rhythms than you singing now because you don't have breath.
Right.
So that I see the importance of that.
Yeah. Um, so, I call it, and I maybe getting ahead of himself here, but it's almost like a new field,
Yeah, I believe so.
where it's so vast in so many ways that so many people can take it that it's hard for me to explain.
Right, right,
It's combining so many different things, but and it adds a challenge to how do you really get this to people on a larger scale. And another thing is overcoming vulnerability.
hmm
Because when we talk about, if we're changing their frequency for the hour, like, they're, what is it? Who is this guy? What
right,
are we doing here?
right, right,
We got
right,
to
right.
do this. Like, you're strapped into that rowing machine. You tell me I have to row for 30 minutes to this. Like, and all of a sudden there changes their state. You know,
Right,
there's a
right,
vulnerability to that. And even when you tell someone
right,
to dance, they're like, "Oh, I can't dance." Like right away, they don't want to
right,
even
right, right,
go there.
right, right. So
Um,
how do you well, what makes you that person to be able to bridge that, to be able to take somebody's vulnerability, but place it in a situation to where they say, I'm comfortable.
it's just being as honest and um, uh, and genuine as possible with that person. You know,
Hmm.
I don't have any. You know, I'm not here to sell. Like, I'm not going to sell you on anything. I'm just showing you what I offer.
Hmm.
If you like it, we can go further.
Right, right, right,
You know, and if not, that's fine too. But
right,
it's just like I don't pressure anybody to do anything. And so hopefully that, you know, that is just like opens them up for them, it allows them to open up.
right. Do you have any type of dialogue with your potential clients or customers prior to coming in and doing the exercise? Meaning that, do you have a verbal explanation of what the process is, or
A lot of times I say that it's to help them feel comfortable that it's a co-creation.
okay,
They're bringing in their music. They decide what stations they want to do. I give them as much opportunity as I can to customize their own workouts. And that way it makes them that again, it calms down the vulnerability a little bit. Because okay, well, let's start here then. I don't feel intimidated by walking on a treadmill
right, right,
the
right,
way they might feel intimidated if I say, all right, we're going to start boxing.
right, 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 right.
And treadmill, we're just going to walk. And if they walk, okay, metronome,
Let's
one,
find the beat. Yeah,
two,
yeah,
one, two. Because again, versatile. You can do it with whatever they want to do.
right, right, exactly.
And
That
then
way,
they're like, and then they start walking. Like, okay, this isn't that scary.
yeah,
Yeah, I can do
exactly.
this. This is fine. And then we'll take it further.
Right. I think most people become intrigued to find out that this is something that's a normal thing that we actually do. We're just not conscious of doing it. And so that's what throws our rhythm off, because not having the consciousness of what we're doing, eventually, or at some points, we will be offbeat.
Yep.
We're out of control. So we're going to be offbeat. But for the most part, most of us are actually going beat by beat. We're just not conscious, so we don't have a feeling of it.
Yeah. And a little experiment I tell people to do is like if you know if when you go for a walk, try to first notice your normal walking pace. That's we call it just like your movement pattern of walking, like
Okay.
your gait and like how fast you walk, and then
Right.
put on your music and try to adjust to the tempo of the music.
Right.
It is very, all of a sudden you're walking slower, you know, and it's like this, I don't want to walk slower. I want to walk my normal pace.
Right.
Again, a little bit of a challenge because we get stuck in habitual thought patterns, habitual movement patterns, and to
And,
change the thoughts is just as hard as to change your movements. But
for real, and I get that, and I see the challenge in someone trying to change and adjust their movements, because their mind is, like you said, habitual. It already done established this routine.
that's
So
it.
even though it's doing something wrong for the last 5 years, and it in your mind it's been the right thing, and you've been maintaining or getting by. So why change it now?
Yep.
But the purpose of getting back into alignment is to free your mind up from holding that thing. What I mean by holding it, like for you to be in that routine of doing something wrong, your mind is actually holding that thought in place to make that happen. If you begin to do everything right body wise, the mind has a chance to release, which frees the mind. The free association now becomes incredible.
Yep. And I tell people, look, get the body flowing and the mind will follow. The body is the physical structure,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
linked with um, the mind. And so
Right.
since they're linked, if you get one to move a certain way, it's going to help the other one move with it.
And it's adjustments.
Adjustments, that's it.
It's time. I like to call them timely adjustments because I know even right now, I'm like was telling you on the phone that I'm building the farm up, and I got goats, I got chickens, I got ducks. This is something now that I'm adjusting to because I'm a city boy. I'm an urban guy. But now bringing this country life into the city, I'm adjusting. I'm realizing now that I'm waking up earlier with the animals. I'm tending to them more. I'm saying that to say this, and now my mind has become in alignment to where now I'm feeling my animals. The other day, one of the ducks was off to the side. I have no skilled knowledge in that. But for the last 2 months, being in connection with the ducks, I knew something. I knew something was wrong. I don't know what, but I knew something was wrong.
Hmm.
Pulled it to the side. Come to find out, is since he was the younger one, he's the youngest out of all of them. He's not eating as much as all of them. His nutrients and minerals protein became low, and he's fatiguing. So he's having mild seizures.
Okay.
But I was able to solve that because I was conscious enough to know like he's by himself, he's to the side, he's not with the other ducks, not a good sign. Relating it back to body, mind, and spirit and the exercise, and the same thing with us. Once we begin to start doing push-ups, the body's gonna hurt, it's gonna cringe, and it's gonna set itself to the side, but because it's in pain. The mind now has an operation. Do I adjust myself to the pain and say keep going, or do I allow this pain to succumb me and never do one again?
Yep.
So the focus. Go ahead.
Uh-huh. No,
I
it's
was saying,
great point.
I was going to say. So the focus of the mind, as far as hearing the metronome, is to get your mind to steady, stay focused while your body can move.
Yep.
That's the purpose. Get the body to move.
Yeah. And there's like some type of satisfaction that comes from when we talk about timing, hitting it on time,
Right. Right.
right? Like you want to hit it on time. And when you do, it's okay, I'm on it.
Right.
That same feeling when you're in a beat, if you're, if you're dancing or whatever, it's like this is it's a good feeling
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being on time
On
and
time.
on tempo and
On beat.
and on beat. Yeah, it's like and I am convinced that anybody can do it because again, you hear I don't have rhythm or I can't do that. But
Yeah.
you set up the conditions where they definitely can. It's a
Right.
one
Right.
in a two position and doing it for a longer period of time and you'll see you definitely do have it. And
Right.
sometimes
Exactly.
and when they realize they're hitting it, like the smiles that come over their face, it's almost like ecstatic because they're like, wow, this is new. I didn't know I could do this, and this is an entirely new feeling for my, mind and body.
Do you ever think about what you're doing? For me, anyway, I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you ever think about your opening up childhood likeness, meaning that kids were naturally that way? We grown out of that based on our conditions. Do you ever see yourself looking at people and actually seeing their child emerge from themselves?
Absolutely. I feel myself.
That's the first place. Oh, yeah,
Because when you look at children, sometimes you'll just see them, they spin,
right,
and they do they're always dancing. Like my little niece is a year and a half, two
right,
years, and my sister just sent me a video of her. She's just dancing around, and the smile on her face, like it's pure joy.
right.
And as adults, as you said, we tend to lose it, but to get it back for just a small period of time, it can have a big impact.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet.
Yep.
And the reason I asked that because I know when I was real serious into the exercise part of my life, I would experience childlike things. Not so much memories, but just like just having a zest for life or finding things that normal people see as just normal. I found it real interesting. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, and if you go to like the vibe of a Muay Thai gym or a boxing gym,
Right.
You get a group of 10, 15 people in there. Once that session is over, everyone's sitting around, they're unwrapping their hands, like they're packing up. Like you can't get it anywhere else.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
but we always used to say, like, we feel like kids like we're having, fun like kids just out here punching each other. Like
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
is. And when you don't want to lose that,
Right.
just because we
Right.
get older in age, it doesn't mean we have to, give that up.
Well, we shouldn't, but like I said, again, the conditions that are created for adults this time in life is work, stay stressed, and don't worry about your health and die. That's pretty much what they have, taught us. So for like yourself to have a mobile exercise facility to be able to bring to people in their homes or somewhere nearby to be able to get their adrenaline pumping, to be able to get their mind actually working, I think that's special, very special.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I would say that up until even like recently, um, there, um, as I said, but like I was still exploring, still kind of
Mm-hmm.
experimenting, still kind of putting things together, still connecting
Right, right, right,
until a couple months ago, where I'm just like, okay, like there are enough dots connected where it can be like a cohesive system.
right, right,
Where it's not and I'm no more adding things in. It's just
right, right. Working with what you have and
work what they
perfecting
have.
it.
Like there's enough there where now I can just take it on the road and see whoever wants it.
Yeah. Well, and I've been watching your videos on Instagram. You're doing very well as far as the illustration is. The scene is very clean. That's the main thing. The scene is very clean. How do you feel? Are you reaching the people in that regard, or are they just watching?
I think they're just watching, but those, I've done maybe like 15, 20 videos. And when I say that I've brought it down and condensed it to its like purest form,
Right,
it's all contained in those 15 videos. It's very
right,
dense. There's a lot there, and I don't expect people to understand by just scrolling through.
right, right,
This
right,
is experiential learning. We have to actually do it to engage the mind, body, and spirit, right?
right,
But what I do with those videos is people that, I may connect with through this or whatever. I tell them to refer back to those Instagram videos that have the whiteboard
right,
because everything is in there. And if you have questions, we can work with it, but that is basically those videos were done to reference for people that are interested or want to learn more. Then you go through those, 10, 15 videos that talk about the techniques, the tempo, the timing, and then the straight rhythm and the swing rhythms.
right.
That's the foundation of what we're doing at the Flow Dojo.
Cool, cool.
It's in there. And then from there, if they have questions, and we'll start. Then we can get after it. But that's where most of the stuff is.
So only on Instagram are you working
There's
platform?
everything that I post on Instagram goes on YouTube as well.
Oh, I was gonna say because YouTube is a good way to start sending a lot of your Instagram people there as far as to see those videos as well.
Yep, I got them up there, but that doesn't. It definitely gets some hits, but there's
Hmm.
not a lot of like comments or uh,
Right. Right.
subscribers.
Yeah. Well, definitely got to figure out a way to bridge that up. A lot of it is really just taking a lot of people who are viewing or even followers already on your Instagram, moving them over there, and it's just doing taking small little steps to do so. Like especially when you do a story, tag yourself in the story to your YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Check me out. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
start doing in those ways to get people there because most of your YouTube algorithm is going to be based on who's showing up already. So if you can get people to start showing up, that open up for other people to show up.
Right. And I do work with people online as well.
Oh,
So
do you?
yeah, so they set up a camera similar like how you're doing here, and
Right.
whatever they have to work with is how we'll do it, right? Like,
Okay, cool.
even if we're just doing air squats, push-ups, sit-ups, um,
Right.
jump ropes, there's
Right.
still plenty of things that we can do
Right.
from the comfort of their homes. And so working with those people, you're trying to get referrals, and then um, I'm also interested in doing workshops for small to medium-sized businesses
Right.
because um, when we get five, six, seven people all moving as we were just talking about, but in sync and together, then we get the oneness
Yeah.
where not only you feel it for yourself, but you're moving with,
With everybody else.
yeah, and when everyone's doing it together, um, that too, it's very powerful. And it's like a team building thing where we're not trying to go faster than the next person.
Right,
We're
right.
trying to stay together.
Exactly.
And so it's a little bit challenging, but once they get it, it's like, wow, here we are as a group coming together as one.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
again, that's mind changing again.
yeah,
You
and
know?
there's so much when you think of, in the fitness or sports world, it's always competing and competing. But this is like a group activity where the aim is like cohesion and
Right, right.
synergy and
Right,
togetherness.
right, right, right.
And if you're a business and you have some employees and people that want and you want to just have them stimulate their minds and bodies so they can be more productive and have a more fulfilling um, time in the workforce, you get them together and let's do something like this and see what comes from it and see what they
And
come up with.
and that'd be beautiful because in the workplace, that's where most people don't get along.
Yep, everyone's on different tempos.
Different tempos.
You got the boss man who's at 200, BPMs, and he's yelling at the guy who he thinks is lazy at
Yeah.
30 BPMs,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know. But it's
yeah.
just it's finding a way where everyone can get on that same vibe.
And be able to move accordingly.
Yep,
Be
yep,
able to
yep.
move accordingly. I felt that when you were here and we had a little exercise going on with the 5 or 6 participants we have here. Once everybody got on sync, it was like a more happy, more energetic. Everybody was rooting each other on, even doing different exercises.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, so
it's that's motivation. Like, oh, I'm tired, but I gotta keep up with him. And so
exactly,
like then you push yourself, and then you push
exactly,
yourself, and then
exactly.
all of a sudden you start feeling the music more because
Right,
you're going past your normal levels. You're opening up your
exactly,
lungs.
exactly.
You're getting more circulation. You're
Right.
getting more sensations through the body now.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a group environment like that, can be very powerful.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, man. I'm excited. I'm waiting to do it again. I was talking to Lane the other day. He's kind of busy because I was telling him that you may be coming through San Diego, but I didn't know a schedule at the time. Once he started telling me a schedule, I was like, yeah, we'll catch up with you.
And that's what else is fun, like to do it before an event, right? Like let's say he's got his show Saturday night, like we're gonna set off Saturday morning proper
Right, right,
with a
right,
good workout, get us ready.
right, right.
And by him moving the body, by him working up a little bit of sweat, he's gonna be looser. He's gonna be ready to perform.
You know what? I have a meeting with him Friday. We supposed to talk. So you know what? I'm gonna bring that up because he has his shows October 3rd down here in San Diego, and he was just telling me that's what we're gonna talk. He was just telling me that he's gonna bring Pato Bantan to open up for him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna speak to him and ask him if he can set up to where him and his band or whatever, or even to invite Pato and his crew over and see if we can try to facilitate something.
Right. And then even to like just build on the vibe of the day, the music can be exclusively him and Pato.
That's it.
And so it's like, how much fun is that?
Whoa. Well, then if if we're talking in that, I should be asking Lane, like maybe we should be connecting with their fan base to have some type of quote unquote exercise early as opposed to going to the show later. So
Hmm.
maybe I'll speak to him, like, maybe we can offer a pre-sale, something with a pre-sale Saturday morning. You can go over here and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and if so then it's like a whole day event,
Exactly.
and the fans that are going to go to the show, they're warmed up
Right, right,
from the
right,
workout.
right.
When they
And
get,
they're already getting their music. You know what I mean? Probably stuff they haven't heard.
yep, and like
Yeah.
that's another thing you could play is like, oh, plus an exclusive new track unreleased.
Well, maybe that should be the whole thing.
Some
Exclusive unreleased music to work out with.
Yeah, and so then that's an extra like bonus for the audience. But when the audience goes in the afternoon, they get to meet. I mean, think they get to meet the artists,
I'm writing it down.
work out with the artists, hear exclusive tracks, make their get
I'm
their body
listening.
moving.
I'm listening. I'm writing this down so I won't
Yeah,
forget.
yeah,
All right.
and so then it's like we're incorporating it with the artists to help boost their own communities. And then, people might not know each other in the morning workouts, but then when they get to the show in the evening, they're close as can be, because they
That's
went through that together and they challenged themselves and they grew together. And now here they are at the show
at
later
the
that day.
show later that day.
You know,
So in turn, you're also bridging a small community, so to speak. So you might just say 5 or 6 people, but they're all from different walks of life, and they come and exercise, go back out and do what they're doing. But when they get to show tonight, it's more of a comfortability, more of a camaraderie because of what we experienced earlier in the day. We were breathing the same, we were moving the same, we were feeling the same. You know what I mean? So now here this energy is.
that's it.
I, I wrote it down. I'm gonna make sure Friday when I talk to him, I'm gonna bring that up to him.
All right.
I'm gonna
And
make sure I bring that up.
yeah, and just see what he thinks. But again, we talked before about like this is a co-creation,
Right,
and there's so many ways to go with it that I'd be interested in his input. Like, what does he think could make this a better?
right,
It's that way it's he's exploring as well. And I got to talk about um the dub stepping.
right.
All right. Um, it's a simple. It's the 1-1 and the 2-2. Okay,
Okay.
so when you go to the sound system shows, you see everyone's kind of doing this. Yep, and even when the selectors uh, on the tables, they kind of do this.
Yeah, he's going back. He does. He's back and forth. Yep.
Yes, and so this is what you'll see all across the world of
Right. Dub club or
the
dub
dub clubs.
music.
Exactly.
Right.
So instead of shifting weight left to right, how you'll see the audience move and you'll see everyone swaying. Everyone's doing the same thing
On rhythm too.
on rhythm, swaying left to right. Then if you want to turn it up a notch, you jump on your left foot twice, right foot twice, left foot twice, and that's the skank.
Right. Right.
And that's where it's at. And when we talk about these pre-show workouts, there should be a section where we show people doing the left foot, right foot, right foot, left foot, and then they're really moving and they're jumping. But the rhythm and the bass, especially the sound system, is almost is carrying that completely.
Right.
So you can go as soon as the music stops, whew, you're done. But you can do it as long as the music's going.
As long as you, yeah, exactly.
But basically what I'm saying is a pre-show session to give people a taste of the left, right, right. And then you take those 7 people to Lene's show. And if for one song they do that in sync together, that show would be rocking.
And it's funny too because you can take 5 or 6 people and they can move 100 people the same way.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
the more the better, the more powerful.
yeah, no, what I'm saying is that you take that structure 5 or 6 people in the morning at pre-workout and you teaching that 1, 2, and just say you have a song called Bebop, whatever.
Uh-huh.
They play that song Bebop and they get back into that rhythm. Their 6 people doing that one rhythm to that song Bebop will make 100 people do the same thing
Definitely.
because you
Because they'll
have a
see it.
you have a concentrated energy. The
Yeah.
breath is the same, the body movement's the same. I need to do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's that the unity of that group can be, you can see it and feel it like, wow, it's synchronized, movements and people will join in. And as I said, Lene's show, he's gonna be playing and singing, and when he sees groups of people moving in sync together, doing that 1 1 2 2 bounce, there's
He
nothing
gets
like it.
and then he gets the moving.
Yeah.
You
And then
know,
again, it's a feedback
right,
between artist and audience,
right, exactly.
and the energy of the place will be unmatched.
Exactly, exactly. I totally agree with that. Totally agree.
So, opportunities there as well.
Well, I am, like I said, I do have an opportunity to speak with him Friday, so I'm definitely gonna mention that because I'm excited now.
Yeah, because
I'm
even if
excited.
like, because that benefits the artist um, for their shows. The artist wants that type of energy at their shows. The more energy they get from the crowd, the more they're into it, and the better they'll
Exactly,
perform.
exactly.
And so you want a crowd that's moving and that's pumped up and that's feeling it together.
Right, exactly. I agree.
Um,
I agree.
so
Yeah. So yeah, so next step, I know you'd move. I know you're doing your thing there, but next step out here in California is at the next Dub Club or highly charged
it's probably in like 2 months.
2 months.
And yeah,
Go ahead.
there's talks about getting King Alpha out here soon.
What?
Yeah, which we would be incredible. But he mentioned it over the weekend that they're talking about it. So
Right, right, right.
that'd be massive.
That's real massive right there.
Yeah,
Very massive. And he's been bringing some nice people in too. So that's helping the whole situation grow and get bigger too. So
yeah, yeah. And like in time, I want the South Bay Dub Club to be headquarters for
the West Coast.
yeah, and for the like that unity dubstepping,
Right, right.
where it's the only place where you can do it and see it and find it and witness it is the South Bay Dub Club.
Exactly, exactly.
But in time,
And same with your exercise. The only way you're gonna be able to feel it here is with you.
yep.
Rojo Dojo. Yeah. So all right. So I'm getting tired, so I gotta get some sleep.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time, and it's
Yeah,
always it's always good just to speak it, and
and I was gonna say, let's continue this because, as in everything, we're catching our breath, we're catching our movement. So if we continue to do this, it's gonna get to a point to where it's gonna have a particular style or a particular flow. The mind, body, and spirit type of thing. It's just something that has to work on. We're refining. We're getting in shape.
that's
We're getting,
it.
we're just getting in shape. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it. So as much as we can do it when our times allow, then let's do it. So as of right now, I'm available around this time between I get off work at 8:30, but usually between I'm gonna say 9:30 and 11 o'clock, I'm up and ready to go
Wednesdays or
any day.
oh, okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna say Monday through Thursday.
makes sense.
Yeah, Fridays I usually try to do a little something. And Saturdays the weekend. So yeah,
Sure, sure.
Monday through Thursday.
And what I'll also do after I record this, I'll take some notes and maybe get like a little bit, next before next talk, I'll send you like some key points that
Okay, cool,
important to
cool.
bring up.
There you go. There you go. See, we're exercising.
That's it.
Yeah, the exercising. That's
Mind, body,
good.
spirit.
There you go. All right, my man. Nice talking with you. See you soon.
Peace. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.